0 to 1, Notes on Startups, or How to Build the Future, by Peter Thiel with Blake Masters. Introduction. I want you to think about a single question. It sounds simple, but it's one of the hardest you'll ever have to answer. Here it is. What important truth do very few people agree with you on? Take a moment with that. Most people, when they hear this, offer up something familiar. Our education system is broken, or America is exceptional. Maybe even, there is no God. But those aren't good answers. The first two are things many people already believe. The third one just takes a side in a very old debate. A good answer is one that feels a little dangerous. It's a truth that isn't just unpopular, but one that people haven't even considered. It's a secret, hidden in plain sight. This single question is the key that unlocks the entire world of Peter Thiel and his masterpiece, 0 to 1. This book isn't just a guide for starting a company. It's a manual for thinking for yourself. It's sold millions of copies and has become the unofficial Bible of Silicon Valley, read by every aspiring founder who dreams of building the next Google, the next Apple, the next SpaceX. Peter Thiel is a fascinating figure, a modern-day philosopher king of the tech world. He was a co-founder of PayPal, that little company that changed the internet forever. He then became the very first outside investor in a tiny startup run by a college kid named Mark Zuckerberg. That startup was Facebook. He also co-founded Palantir, a secretive software company that helps governments track down terrorists and criminals. He's a man who has consistently bet on the future and won. And in 0 to 1, he pulls back the curtain and shows us how he does it. What I want to promise you today is that by the end of our time together, you will understand the single most important distinction in all of business, and maybe even in life itself, the difference between going from 1 to n, and the magical world-changing act of going from 0 to 1. This isn't about small steps. It's about the giant leap that creates the future. So, let's begin that journey and uncover the secrets that are waiting for us. Book summary. Every moment in business, and in life, happens only once. The next Bill Gates will not build an operating system. The next Larry Page won't create a search engine. And the next Mark Zuckerberg won't build a social network. If you are copying these people, you aren't learning from them. You're just taking the world from 1 to n. You're adding more of something that already exists. But when you create something entirely new, you go from 0 to 1. This is the central idea that beats at the heart of Thiel's thinking. He sees the future of progress in two forms. The first is horizontal progress. This is what he calls going from 1 to n. It's about copying things that work. Think of a restaurant franchise opening a new location. It's more of the same. The single word for this is globalization, taking something that works in one place and making it work everywhere. China is the perfect example of this. For the last few decades, its grand plan has been to become like the United States is today, copying everything from railroads to air conditioning. The second form is vertical progress. This is what he calls going from 0 to 1. This is doing something nobody has ever done before. If you have a typewriter and you build 100 more, that's horizontal progress. If you have a typewriter and you build a word processor, that's vertical progress. The single word for this is technology. And here's Thiel's own contrarian truth, the answer to his favorite question. Most people think the future of the world will be defined by globalization, but the truth is that technology matters more. Why? Because a world of 7 billion people cannot live the way Americans do today. If China doubles its energy production using today's technology, it will also double its air pollution. Spreading old ways of creating wealth will lead to environmental devastation, not riches. Without new technology, globalization is unsustainable. The future, a better future, depends on technology. It depends on people daring to go from 0 to 1. But if this is so important, why don't more people do it? The answer, Thiel argues, is that our entire society is built on an ideology that pushes us in the opposite direction. It's an ideology so pervasive, we don't even see it. He calls it the ideology of competition. Think about your life so far. From the moment you entered school, you were taught to compete. Grades measure you against your classmates. You take the same subjects, in the same way, and the ones who do it slightly better get the A's. This continues through high school, where you stack your resume with extracurriculars to look well-rounded, which really just means you're competing on the same metrics as everyone else. Then you get to college, a place where people who had big dreams get stuck in fierce rivalries for conventional careers, like management consulting or investment banking. The goal becomes to beat the person sitting next to you, not to create something new. Thiel knows this path intimately. He was on it himself. After a successful undergraduate career at Stanford, he went to Stanford Law School, where he competed fiercely for the ultimate prize, a clerkship on the U.S. Supreme Court. He was so close. He interviewed with 2 justices. He thought that if he could just win this one last competition, his life would be set. He didn't get it. And at the time, he was devastated. Years later, after he had built and sold PayPal for $1.5 billion, he ran into an old friend from law school. The first thing his friend said to him was, "So, Peter, aren't you glad you didn't get that clerkship?" With hindsight, he knew that winning that competition would have been the worst thing for him. He would have spent his life in a prestigious but conventional career, instead of creating something new. The competition was a trap. Business, he says, is the same. We're taught that capitalism and competition are the same thing. Business schools teach managers to think of business as war. But Thiel delivers a bombshell of a statement. Capitalism and competition are opposites. Capitalism is about the accumulation of capital, but in a world of perfect competition, all the profits get competed away. Think of the U.S. airline industry. They serve millions of people and create hundreds of billions of dollars of value each year. But in 2012, they made an average of just 37 cents per passenger. They are constantly at war with each other over price, and their profits are razor-thin. Now, compare them to Google. In that same year, Google brought in less revenue than the airlines, but its profit margin was more than 100 times higher. Why? Because the airlines are in a state of brutal competition. Google, on the other hand, is a monopoly. Now, the word monopoly makes us think of illegal bullies who crush their rivals. But that's not what Thiel means. He's talking about a company that is so good at what it does that no other company can offer a close substitute. Google has a monopoly on search. It hasn't had a real competitor since the early 2000s. And this leads to another one of his famous reversals of conventional wisdom. Tolstoy opens Anna Karenina by saying, "All happy families are alike, each unhappy family is unhappy in its own way." Thiel says in business, the opposite is true. All happy companies are different, each one earns a monopoly by solving a unique problem. All failed companies are the same, they failed to escape competition. Competition means a struggle for survival. It means you're so focused on today's margins that you can't possibly plan for a long-term future. A monopoly, on the other hand, has breathing room. It can afford to care about its workers, its products, and its impact on the world. Google's motto, "Don't be evil," is something only a company with monopoly profits can afford to say and mean. In perfect competition, a business can't afford to think about anything but making money. So if the goal is to build a monopoly, how do you do it? First, you have to understand the characteristics that all great monopolies share. Thiel identifies 4. 1. Proprietary technology, This is the most important advantage. Your technology must be at least 10 times better than its closest substitute. Not just a little bit better, but a quantum leap better. A marginal improvement is not enough to get people to switch. Amazon offered 10 times as many books as any physical bookstore. PayPal made paying for things on eBay 10 times faster and easier than mailing a check. The Apple iPad made tablet computing 10 times better than anything that came before it, turning a useless gadget into a new category of device. 2. Network effects. A product with network effects becomes more useful as more people use it. Facebook is the classic example. If all your friends are on it, it makes sense for you to be on it too. It's hard to leave because the network itself is the value. 3. Economies of scale. A monopoly business gets stronger as it gets bigger. Software companies are a great example of this. The cost to create the first copy of the software is very high, but the cost to produce one more copy is close to zero. The fixed costs can be spread out over millions of users. 4. Branding. A strong brand is a powerful way to create a monopoly. Apple is the master of this. From its product design to its stores, everything reinforces the idea that Apple is in a category of its own. But Thiel warns that branding alone is not enough. It must be built on a foundation of substance, on superior technology. So you know what a monopoly looks like. But how do you actually build one from scratch? Here's where most people get it wrong. They see a huge billion-dollar market and they say, if we can just capture 1% of that market, we'll be a huge company. Thiel says this is a red flag. It's a sign that you have no real plan. Large markets mean lots of competition. The key is to do the opposite. Start small and monopolize. Every startup is small at the start, and every monopoly dominates a large share of its market. Therefore, a startup should start with a very small market. It's easier to dominate a small market than a large one. Think of Facebook. Mark Zuckerberg didn't start by trying to connect everyone on Earth. He started with a single university campus, Harvard. The market was just a few thousand students. But he completely dominated it. Once he did, he expanded to other elite colleges, then all colleges, and then eventually, the world. PayPal did the same thing. Our first product let people beam money between Palm Pilots. It was cool technology, but the market was scattered and nobody really needed it. We had no customers. Then we found our niche, the high-volume power sellers on eBay. There were only a few thousand of them, but they had a desperate need for a better payment system. We focused all our energy on them, and within a few months, we were serving 25% of them. Once we dominated that niche, we became the default payment system for all of eBay. The sequence is crucial. Dominate a small niche, then scale up to adjacent markets. This is the path to monopoly. And when you do this, Thiel offers a surprising piece of advice: don't disrupt. Disruption has become a buzzword in Silicon Valley. It means using new technology to attack an incumbent company. But Thiel says if you see yourself as an insurgent fighting dark forces, you become fixated on your enemies instead of on creation. If your company can be summed up by its opposition to another company, it can't be completely new. The goal is to create new things, not to fight over old things. Avoid competition as much as possible. This brings us to another key idea. We've all heard of first mover advantage, the idea that being the first to enter a market is the key to success. Thiel says this is just a tactic, not a goal. It's much better to be the last mover. The last mover is the one who makes the last great development in a specific market and enjoys decades of monopoly profits. The goal isn't to be first. The goal is to be the last one standing. To do this, you need more than just a good idea and a small market. You need a plan. And this is where we get to the philosophical core of the book. It's a debate about the nature of success itself. Is success the result of luck, or is it the result of skill? Many successful people are surprisingly humble. Warren Buffett talks about winning the ovarian lottery. Jeff Bezos credits planetary alignment. But Thiel points to serial entrepreneurs, people like Steve Jobs, Jack Dorsey, and Elon Musk, who have created multiple multi-billion-dollar companies. If success were just luck, these people shouldn't exist. The real question, he says, is not about the past, but about the future. Do you see the future as a matter of chance, or a matter of design? He breaks this down into a powerful framework, a 2x2 matrix that explains entire cultures and modes of thinking. On one axis, you have your view of the future. You can be optimistic or pessimistic. On the other axis, you can have a definite or an indefinite view of that future. This gives us 4 possibilities. 1. Definite pessimism. The future can be known, but it will be bleak, so you must prepare for it. Thiel says this describes modern China. They are furiously copying what has worked in the West because they have a definite plan, but they are pessimistic that it will be enough to catch up, given their resource constraints. 2. Indefinite pessimism. The future will be bleak, but you have no idea what to do about it. This, he says, is modern Europe. They just react to events and hope things don't get worse, which is why they have a vacation mania. If decline is inevitable, you might as well enjoy the present. 3. Definite optimism. The future will be better than the present, and we have a plan to make it so. This described the Western world from the 17th century up until the 1960s. We built the Golden Gate Bridge, the interstate highway system, and the Apollo program. We had grand visions and concrete plans to achieve them. 4. Indefinite optimism. The future will be better, but we don't know how exactly, so we don't make any specific plans. This, Thiel argues, has been the dominant mindset in America since the 1980s. In a world of indefinite optimism, process trumps substance. Instead of building new things, people rearrange old things. This is the world of finance, of bankers and lawyers. Young people are encouraged to curate a diverse resume to prepare for a completely unknowable future, keeping their options open. They are ready for nothing in particular. The popular lean startup methodology is a product of this indefinite thinking. You're told to make a minimum viable product and then iterate based on customer feedback. But iteration without a bold plan will only lead you to a local maximum. It won't help you go from 0 to 1. Thiel's message is a call to return to definite optimism. To believe that the future is something to be designed, not just something that happens to us. A startup is the largest endeavor over which you can have definite mastery. It begins by rejecting the tyranny of chance. You are not a lottery ticket. But even with a brilliant plan, how do you focus your energy? Where will the greatest returns come from? This leads us to one of the most powerful and often unseen forces in the universe, the power law. You might know it as the Pareto principle, or the 80-20 rule. 20% of the inputs create 80% of the results. Thiel says that in the world of technology and venture capital, this is even more extreme. In a successful venture capital fund, the single best investment will outperform the entire rest of the fund combined. It's not a normal distribution of returns. It's a power law distribution. A tiny handful of companies are radically more successful than all the others. This has profound implications. For a venture capitalist, it means they should only invest in companies that have the potential to return the value of the entire fund. It means you can't diversify. You have to make a small number of concentrated bets on the companies you believe can be transformative. But the power law doesn't just apply to venture capital. It applies to everyone, because everyone is an investor. You invest your time, your energy, your life. You cannot diversify yourself. You can't live dozens of possible careers and hope one works out. You have to make a choice. The world teaches us the opposite. It tells you don't put all your eggs in one basket, but life is not a portfolio. You should focus relentlessly on the one thing you are uniquely good at, and the one thing that has the potential for exponential returns. The most important things are singular. One market will be better than all others. One distribution strategy will dominate. And your one life has one career path that will be orders of magnitude better than the alternatives. Your job is to find it. So, you have a plan. You've rejected the madness of competition. You've decided to build a monopoly in a small market, based on a secret you've discovered. You're operating with a definite view of the future, and you understand the power law. What now? You must get the foundations right. Thiel has a rule he calls Thiel's law: a startup messed up at its foundation cannot be fixed. The very beginning is a special time. The first and most crucial decision is who you start the company with. Choosing a co-founder is like getting married. The founders must have a prehistory. They must know each other well. Next, you have to define the structure of ownership, possession, and control. Ownership is who has the equity. Possession is who runs the company day to day. And control is who governs it, usually the board of directors. These must be clearly defined to keep everyone aligned. And who should be on your team? As a general rule, everyone you involve should be full-time. No consultants, no part-timers. Ken Kesey was right. You're either on the bus or off the bus. To get people on the bus, you need to create a special kind of culture. Thiel looks to his own experience at PayPal for the model. The early team at PayPal has become legendary in Silicon Valley, known as the PayPal Mafia. After selling the company, members of this team went on to create SpaceX, Tesla, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Yelp, companies now worth billions. How did they build such a team? They didn't just hire the most talented people on paper. They created a tribe. A group of like-minded people, fiercely devoted to the company's mission. On the outside, he says, everyone in your company should be different in the same way. Think of the startup uniform, the branded t-shirt. It signals that you are part of a tribe. On the inside, every individual should be sharply distinguished by their work. As a manager at PayPal, Thiel made every person responsible for doing just one thing. This defined roles clearly and reduced conflict. Your job as a founder is to answer the question for the 20th engineer: why should I join your company? You can't compete with Google on salary or perks. But you can offer what no one else can: the opportunity to do irreplaceable work on a unique problem, alongside great people. But what if you build the most amazing product, with the most amazing team, and still no one comes? This is where we confront a truth that many technical founders hate to admit: the importance of sales and distribution. Nerds in Silicon Valley are often skeptical of sales. It seems superficial and irrational. They dream of a product that is so good it sells itself. Thiel says anyone who says this is lying. Either to himself or to you. The opposite cliché is that the best product doesn't always win. The truth is that distribution is as essential to your product as the product itself. If you've invented something new but you haven't invented an effective way to sell it, you have a bad business. All salesmen are actors, he says. The best ones are hidden in plain sight. Sales works best when it doesn't feel like sales. And everyone is a salesperson. If you look around your company and you don't see any salespeople, then you're the salesperson. So how do we build the future? How do we use technology to go from 0 to 1? Thiel believes we must see technology not as a force that will substitute for humans, but one that will complement them. He learned this firsthand at PayPal. In the early days, They were losing $10 million a month to credit card fraud. They tried to build an automated software solution to catch the criminals, but the fraudsters would adapt their tactics within hours. The software couldn't keep up. Then they tried a purely human approach, hiring a team of analysts to review every transaction. But with thousands of transactions per minute, no human team could work that fast. The solution came when they combined the two. They built software that flagged the most suspicious transactions, and then sent them to human analysts for a final judgment. This human-computer hybrid worked. It was the key to PayPal's survival. This is the model for the future. Computers are tools, not rivals. They excel at processing massive amounts of data, but they struggle with making judgments. Humans are the opposite. The future belongs to those who can effectively combine the strengths of both. Now, it's easy to talk about these principles in the abstract. But what does it look like when a company gets them all wrong? And what does it look like when a company gets them all right? Thiel gives us a powerful case study, the clean tech bubble of the 2000s. Everyone agreed that clean technology was the next big thing. Investors poured over $50 billion into thousands of companies. But it was a massive failure. Companies like Solyndra became famous ghosts. Why? Because they failed to answer the 7 key questions every business must answer. 1. The engineering question: can you create a 10x breakthrough? Most cleantech companies offered only incremental improvements. 2. The timing question: is now the right time? They mistook a slow, linear market for an exponential one. 3. The monopoly question: are you starting with a big share of a small market? No, they all jumped into the trillion-dollar energy market, which meant brutal competition. 4. The people question: do you have the right team? They were run by salesmen in suits, not technologists in t-shirts. 5. The distribution question: do you have a way to deliver your product? They forgot about the customer. 6. The durability question: will your market position be defensible in 20 years? They were wiped out by cheaper Chinese manufacturing and the rise of fracking. 7. The secret question: have you identified a unique opportunity others don't see? No. They were all chasing the same conventional wisdom that green is good. They were social entrepreneurs who wanted to do well by doing good. Thiel says they usually end up doing neither. But then there's Tesla, one of the few clean tech companies to thrive. Why? Because they got all 7 questions right. Technology. Their technology is so good, other car companies buy it from them. Timing. They used government subsidies to get started, but had a plan to survive without them. Monopoly. They started by monopolizing a tiny market, high-end electric sports cars for the rich. Team. Elon Musk is the consummate engineer and salesman. Distribution. They own the entire distribution chain, selling and servicing their own cars. Durability. Their head start and brand give them a strong position for the future. Secret. And their secret? They understood that for rich people, clean tech was more about a social statement than an environmental one. Buying a Tesla wasn't just good for the planet, it made you look cool. Tesla proves that the challenge isn't the sector, it's the thinking. This brings us to the final, and perhaps most mysterious, element of building the future: the founder. Founders, Thiel observes, are strange people. They don't fit neatly on a bell curve. They are often defined by extreme, and even contradictory, traits. They can be cash poor but millionaires on paper. They are simultaneously insiders and outsiders. Think of Bill Gates, the nerdy college dropout outsider who became the world's wealthiest insider. Or Steve Jobs, the barefoot, Apple diet-following artist who was also a ruthless CEO. These founders are like the kings of old. They are unique individuals who can make authoritative decisions, inspire intense loyalty, and plan for decades. A company that creates new technology often resembles a monarchy more than a modern, bureaucratic organization. The value of a founder is irreplaceable. When Steve Jobs was forced out of Apple in 1985, the company was run by professional managers who nearly drove it into bankruptcy. When he returned, he created the iPod, the iPhone, and the iPad, making Apple the most valuable company in the world. Its value depended on the singular vision of a particular person. This is the founder's paradox. We live in a world that prefers interchangeable managers and standardized processes. But the great leaps forward, the moves from 0 to 1, are almost always driven by these singular, strange, and irreplaceable founders. So what does the deep future hold for us? Thiel, borrowing from the philosopher Nick Bostrom, lays out 4 possibilities. We could face recurrent collapse, like the cycles of the ancient world. We could reach a plateau, where the whole world converges to the level of rich countries today, a future of intense competition and stagnation. We could face extinction. Or, there is a 4th possibility, an accelerating takeoff toward a much better future, a future so different it defies description. Some call this the singularity. The choice between these futures is not automatic. It is up to us. We cannot take for granted that the future will be better. We have to work to create it today. Everything important, the universe, our planet, our country, your company, your life, is singular. It happens only once. Our task is to find the singular opportunities to create new things. The paths are hidden, but they are there for those who are brave enough to look. Commentary. As we step back from the powerful ideas in 0 to 1, what strikes me most is its profound sense of agency. In a world that often tells us we are products of our environment, shaped by forces beyond our control, Thiel hands us back the steering wheel. He says, "No, you are not a lottery ticket. The future is not something that washes over you like a wave. It is something you build, brick by brick, with a definite plan." For a young person standing at the beginning of their life and career, this message is both intimidating and incredibly empowering. It dismisses the comfort of following a well-trodden path and instead calls for the courage to think from first principles. To ask that contrarian question, what important truth do very few people agree with me on? And to have the audacity to build your life around the answer. The most powerful lesson, for me, is the relentless attack on the ideology of competition. We are all trained to be competitors. We see it as a virtue. But Thiel reframes it as a trap, a distraction from the real work of creation. It forces us to ask a hard question about our own ambitions. Are we trying to be the best in a crowded field? Or are we trying to create a field of our own? Are we fighting over a small slice of an existing pie, or are we baking a new one? This isn't just a business lesson, it's a life lesson. It applies to the artist, the scientist, the writer, just as much as it does to the entrepreneur. So, how can we start applying this thinking today? First, I encourage you to take that contrarian question seriously. Spend some real time with it. Write it down. What do you believe that others don't? It doesn't have to be a grand theory of the universe. It could be a secret about your community, your school, or an industry you're passionate about. This is the seed of all 0 to 1 thinking. Second, look at your own plans. Are they definite or indefinite? Are you pursuing a tracked career because it keeps your options open? Or are you moving toward a concrete vision of what you want to build or become? An indefinite life feels safe, but it's often a recipe for mediocrity. A definite plan, even if it feels risky, is where true creation happens. And third, find your niche. Don't try to take on the world all at once. What is the smallest possible market you can dominate? It could be a unique skill, a specific project, or a tiny community. Become the absolute best at that one small thing. That is your beachhead from which you can expand and build your own monopoly, whether it's in business or in life. 0 to 1 is more than a book about startups. It's a call to arms for creators, innovators, and independent thinkers. It's a reminder that the great project of building a better future is not finished. In fact, it has barely begun. There are still secrets to be found, and hidden paths to be taken. We've covered the core framework of 0 to 1 today, but a summary is like looking at a map of a great city. It shows you the layout, but it can never replace the feeling of walking the streets yourself. The real power of this book lies in the way its ideas connect and build on each other, and in the quiet moments of reflection it inspires. This summary is your map, designed to help you see if this is a journey you want to take. If anything we've discussed today has sparked a fire in you, I wholeheartedly encourage you to pick up a copy. Reading it isn't just about learning, it's an experience that might just change the way you see your own potential to shape the future. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please take a moment to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the billionaire's bookshelf. Let's keep learning and keep building together.